Hey everyone, I'm Travis, and in this video you're going to see me build a custom set of tri-Y headers and explain exactly how and why I did it. Enjoy. Of course, starting at the flange here, this is our 1/2 inch flange. This video is going to talk a lot about kind of equal and opposite behavior of the exhaust system and kind of why we do it that way and why we decided to go with the tri-Y systems. There's a little bit of science involved and a little bit of kind of reasoning behind it of why it's not a short tube header, why it's not a long tube header. It's kind of right in the middle. When I went to research stuff like this, it was something I was quite interested in and I just couldn't find any information, so I decided to kind of document it and show you what I was doing and why I was doing it. Okay, so there's a pretty simple science behind these headers. Nothing too crazy, very simple concepts. The idea of your headers, your exhaust system, before it gets to your tailpipe, is to control your exhaust gases. You can just let them out the side, but you're not really gaining anything from that. So if you can control those gases, you can actually improve your efficiency, which in turn improves your power. So why are tri-Ys so cool? Well, here's your 1Y, here's your 2Y, here's your 3Y. As it goes with our firing order 1372654 new style Ford, as one bangs, boom, here it goes. There leaves a little negative space right here. So as this goes by, this has got positive pressure, it creates negative pressure here, and what that actually does is it sucks out that one. So then this one creates positive, negative starts here, sucks out that one. This cylinder fires, boom, it creates negative pressure here. This one goes, boom, it falls into it, it sucks it through. You have suction here, you have suction here, and you have suction here. So you're beyond controlling your exhaust. You're telling it exactly what you want to do, and you're actually encouraging it to leave out the exhaust pipe. If you pair this with a bunch of other things down the line, you get a pretty cool exhaust system on the way out. Using this simple method, you can get the benefits of a long tube header, a short tube header, be pretty cool in the process. These were developed by Carroll Shelby in the late 60s, which is pretty cool because who doesn't love that guy? GT350Rs. Awesome. Anyways, back to the video. Enjoy. These were the first primary tubes. Primary tubes were 1 5/8", moving into the 1 7/8" secondary, and then with some 2" sprinkled in there for reasons we'll explain in a bit. But this was the passenger side of the engine, so I don't have any mandrel benders or special tools or anything like that, so I just used straight tubes with some angles in it, otherwise known as pie cuts. Pie cuts are not my favorite thing, but they do the job. They get you where you need to go in a short amount of time. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan because you have to add a bunch of welds to them and things like that, but they do work, and they're a cheap way and easy way out of mandrel bends, and you can achieve some pretty tight turns that you sometimes can't with the other pieces of tubing. So advantages and disadvantages to everything. I was able to bend it around the starter quite nicely and avoid some problems that some people may have as far as when the power cable is right there and the header's right there and your hand's right there and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to avoid some of that on this side, and they came out pretty cool. So moving on to the driver's side. This side we had a little bit more room. We just had to stay out of the way of the steering shaft and the oil filter, but kind of a direct shot into the area we needed to head. We did need to pair up opposite cylinders here instead of side by side based on the firing order, but this is where you'll see our problem of real estate, where one is a lot longer than three, and they kind of need to arrive at the same time opposite from each other. So you'll see a little bit of bigger tubing sprinkled in to try to slow that airspeed down and increase the volume. So you can't always make them equal length, but sometimes you can make them equal volume. That's kind of something people may forget, and it's kind of a hidden gem in there that I think is worth mentioning. You want them to meet that crossover at the same time, opposite from each other, equal and opposite. And then manipulating that volume can't help. I did learn as I went with these things. I built as I went. I didn't, I kind of had a plan, but, you kind of just put the welder on and put the grinders on and kind of build. And this is kind of something I learned. So instead of starting at the engine and then working towards the crossover on this one, I built the crossover and then worked from the end, or towards the crossover from the engine. I built a simple crossover out of, straight tubing. Took a little bit of, fitting, but kind of worked out well. It's I think 15 degrees is the proper stoichiometric angle, but practically this angle worked for me, and then moving towards that for 2 and 4 worked pretty well. Got to that crossover at a good time.
They came up, you know, pretty good on this side, the driver's side. They moved there, they stayed out of the way of the steering shaft, and should be pretty easy to install and work with. I did end up splitting these flanges later on, so when I go to install these and finish the welds, it was a lot easier when you have kind of two separate types of headers or two different pieces of header. You'll kind of see that later in the video, but you know, you'll see it on race cars and stuff like that where they split the header so that it's easier to install and blah 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 into the slip joint. Of course, you have a jig for these things. You know, you don't really want to weld without a jig. It will warp the steel, although this is 1/2 inch. If you do a big seam like that, what you see on the screen right now, it will pick up that 1/2 inch and twist it and tweak it. And here's what I was saying about the mandrel bends. Why I kind of like them is you don't have so many welds in your system, but again, trade-offs for everything. I was able to, you know, turn out a pretty bitchin' set of headers with some straight tubing. You know, just some tubing we got at the steel store. So this is one piece I bought. This is a Vibrance Performance crossover or merge collector. They make pretty good product. I think they moved all their stuff to China, but it's none of my business. And then here's how they sit side by side. Obviously kind of two different headers, but achieving the same thing because of that. Matching up those cylinders, we kind of had two different looks, but that'll kind of trip some people out, I think, where they go start on one side of the truck, move to the other, and they'll be like, "Ooh, what's going on here?" But anyways, you can see kind of the manipulation of the tube size. Near that crossover, you see some 2-inch in there to kind of hopefully slow down that airspeed and allow it to arrive opposite from each other, but at the same time to make an equal and balanced system. That's kind of the name of the game here. As we said, when you go to build stuff for yourself, it fits your truck perfectly. Instead of buying a set of headers and then adapting it to the truck and have, you know, maybe not the best fit, or you don't have the best fit that you want, or you're not happy with it, building for yourself, you can kind of put them exactly where you want them, where this one doesn't drag, it doesn't go below the frame, and is all kind of tight and neat where it needs to be. You'll see the braided flex joints there. Those flex joints are to isolate the engine vibration from the rest of the exhaust system, you know, trying to prevent cracks and breakage and stuff like that as we move into the crossover. This X crossover is something similar I have on my bike. It's a kind of a close range crossover, you know, sharp angles, but should do the same. Headed into some Flowmaster 50s, which should sound pretty cool. I will get you guys a sound clip as soon as I can, and see you at the next video. Take care.